away, then we're going to be talking about subscribers want super bundling. Yes, they do. We've got the research to prove it. And to talk through that, I'm joined by Giles Tunn, who is the VP of Marketing at Banga. Also going to be hearing from Yuri Vashenko, who is Head of Partnerships for YouTube Music and the Premium YouTube as well. And Jonathan Palmer, who's Director of Content Acquisition, Virgin Media O2. So I promised you some data, and Giles is going to start us off by running through all of that.
Hello everybody. Hello. Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
This is going to be interactive, at least for the first part. I'm going to talk to you about a changing trend, or a couple of changing trends. The first of which is everyone can remember the days when to subscribe to, say, Netflix, we'd go to netflix.com and take our subscription there. What's happening now is we're able to take subscriptions from all sorts of different indirect channels. In fact, 1 in 4 of us have only bought subscriptions from indirect channels. So a big shift in what's going on in the subscription landscape. And to support what we're talking about here today, I'm going to be taking some data from a study which will be released in a few weeks' time. It's 5 countries across Europe. It's looking at subscribers and their behaviours. But today, since we're in London, we'll focus on the UK, and I'm going to ask, don't worry, it'll come back later, don't worry. I can put it back now if you want. I'm going to ask for some participation in a moment. Okay, good. So, what I'll ask you to do is put your hands in the air if you have ever bought a subscription. Great, keep your hands up if you've bought 2 or more subscriptions. Could be video, could be productivity, gaming, keep them up. 3 or more, 4 or more, 5 or more, let's see where we get to. 6 or more, 7 or more, don't even know, keep that. 8 or more, 9 or more, okay, we got a yes. 10 or more, 10, 11, about 10, okay. I'm way up at the top of the teens myself. So the average in the UK is 3.3 according to our data, but 24% of us have 5 or more subscriptions. So you get a sense of what's going on in the subscription landscape. Do any of you now have a subscription that you would never cancel or couldn't imagine cancelling? For me, I'm thinking Netflix and probably Amazon Prime. Okay, yeah. So about 63% of us now consider a forever subscription, something we'd never cancel. Let's do one more of these. Hands up if you pay for a subscription that you don't ever use.
Wow.
Yeah, AO.com. Thanks for renewing that. 26%. Sorry, I shouldn't call them out, should I? So subscription economy is booming. New data from Juniper says we're heading towards $1 trillion economy here for subscriptions by 2028. Omdia, really interesting stat list, that 20% of all SVOD are already sold through telcos. 20%. And that rises to almost 50% in some markets by 2028. So enormous concentration of selling through indirect channels already. And as I mentioned already, 1 in 4 of us sign up exclusively only through indirect channels. So let's dig deeper into the consumer perspective, and I'll also give you a telco perspective from some other research and content provider perspective. So UK research, these are the types of things we're subscribing to: television, SVOD, retail, music. I always think that's a bit low. I've had Spotify since the dawn of time. I also get Amazon Music, gaming, food delivery, and so forth. Talking of average spend, so £697 average spend for those 3.3 subs. Although 1 in 8 of us are spending over £1,000 a year on subscriptions, which if you think about that as your sort of post-tax, post-NI contribution, that's quite a good contribution to the subscription economy. Average spend somewhere around about £58 a month. Some people spending huge amounts on subscriptions. But what's going on here is, why am I telling you all this stuff? Because we've created a bit of a nightmare. Subscription fatigue has set in. 32% of us don't even know where or how we've subscribed to something. So perhaps on the back of a retail receipt. 30% of us don't know how much we're spending on our subscriptions, or don't know how many we've got. Who was that over there? 42% of us are annoyed that can't manage all their subscriptions in one place, and yet 60% of us can't afford all the subscriptions we'd like. So it's a bit of a mess, really. We've created a bit of a horror show when it comes to the subscription economy. But the majority of us are craving for a solution, some way of getting control back in place. They're looking for one place to manage and administrate and pay for all their subscriptions in one place, which is a trend that's becoming known as super bundling. Curiously, a paradox seems to occur here that if we can help people manage and pay for their subscriptions, they'd actually end up paying for more subscriptions and spend more time using them and be more loyal to the provider of that content hub and more likely to recommend it. And for those of you working in the industry, they'll actually pay more for that first-party service. So 28% would be willing to pay 25% higher bill if they have some of these services included. And who are they looking to provide such a service? It's the telco. So broadband, mobile, TV operators, always at the top. We do this survey around the world and it's always the same. So just to give you some perspective from the telco side, so why, what are the top telco priorities? This was from a survey called The Final Frontier, you can get it from my website. Priorities are revenue streams, driving up NPS and engagement, customer acquisition, increased ARPU, no surprises for anybody probably, reduced cost per acquisition and customer loyalty. What are the benefits you get from super bundling? They're basically the same. Acquisition shoots up, but broadly they match very, very closely. Just to recap how we got here in terms of super bundling, I'm sure those of us who are old enough will remember the first generation of bundling was where minutes, data and SMS were packaged together in one price. That sort of seems odd for some younger people, but yes, once upon a time you could buy them separately. And then the second generation was where you might get something free. Anybody remember Orange Wednesdays? Free cinema ticket for Wednesday? This sort of thing. So this was the first generation of bundling, really, with a third-party service being thrown into basically as a sales promotion to add value to that first-party service. And what we're moving to now is super bundling, where multiple services are brought together. Some might be included, so a hard bundle, some might be paid for, but essentially it's broadening this opportunity to buy all sorts of different services from your provider. And here's some great examples. So the OG is Optus with SubHub. So you can see from that image the kind of thing we're talking about here. So you've got Optus Sport, but you've also got Prime, Netflix, and so forth. And the way they present that is the more you bundle, the more you save. So it's a great consumer proposition. Verizon's slightly different. They've got over 45 different content providers available in their Plus Play content hub. They also have My Perks, where they're giving things away, hard bundled, as you sign up to the service. So slightly different approach, but common across both of them is it's not just SVOD, it's also sport, gaming, productivity, lifestyle, life stage kind of stuff. In our survey, Final Frontier, 89% of telcos plan to offer a content hub which has the functionality of super bundling. 88% believe super bundling will be a vital source of revenue in the future. 87% believe super bundling hubs will give them a strong competitive advantage, and almost 2/3 are struggling to maintain engagement with their customers. And just quickly on the content provider side, another study, I've got some copies out there on our booth if you want to see us afterwards. Why are content providers like Netflix, Disney, etc. Taking part in super bundling? Well, it's really a story of reach and acquisition, finding more customers. It also happens that these are stickier customers. So a bundled customer is stickier, can help reduce churn, improve cost per acquisition because you're leaning on the telco's advertising, simplified payments, so you can enter a market and use the telco's payment method as the way to pay for the service, and of course international expansion. So a Silicon Valley-based content provider can access a European market leaning on the telco's payment and customer service. So a really great way of crossing borders. 81% of content providers believe that bundling is the future model for subscriptions. You'll have seen a lot of news in the last 2 weeks of lots of different types of bundles coming together from different content providers. 66% stated super bundling will be a vital source of future revenue. And 34% are struggling to maintain a profitable direct-to-consumer business. The last interesting point I'll make around super bundling is the opportunity within these environments that telcos are creating to do some really innovative things. So for example, bottom right hand corner, Netflix and Max sold together, ad-funded tier for $10. You really wouldn't find that anywhere else. You wouldn't find it on their own website. You can't find it in the App Store. So these content hubs are creating a really unique environment for these cross-industry bundling. And this is a mega trend that we're seeing with all the partners we're working with. The idea of working together with other content providers in bundling. So as I mentioned, you can download this as soon as it's available. Scan that, you'll get on our wait list, and I'll be outside to answer any questions. And at this point, I'll hand back to June and walk on over like a pro.
Complicated than I imagined when I agreed to do this particular session. There's quite a bit we can take away from that. A couple of things shot through my mind during the course of this. You can kind of get false positives for subscription take-up. I'll give you an example here. A music service. You might have a music service bundled into something that you're taking anyway. Then of course you don't like it, you don't use it, and then you subscribe to another one.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a complex.
It's very complex, and we were discussing. I don't know if you can hear me. We're sharing it.
Yes, breakfast television style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We were talking earlier on about Amazon Prime, which is actually a multifaceted bundle, and I get Amazon Prime Music as part of it, but I don't use it. So which box do I tick? So yeah, it's a very complex situation for sure.
And the other thing, of course, it's a little bit of Back to the Future as well. You mentioned phone bundles. I remember the day, I'm sure many other people who possibly on this panel, where if you're subscribing, say, to Virgin or to Sky, there'd be a whole load of services. You take them in one subscription, and if, say, the Acme Sports Channel came along, not the brands we all know, if it's BT or TNT or whatever they're called this week, another sports channel comes along, chances are Virgin would do a deal with them, and then you'd subscribe it. And so it's like, how did we get to this mess of all these streaming services thinking, oh, we can just do it on our own?
I think that's right, Julian. So at Virgin Media O2, we've got a long history in bundling, certainly not a new concept to us. We've been bundling pay TV services, streaming services. We were the first pay TV platform to bundle to include Netflix and fully integrate Netflix back in 2013, which is quite a long time ago. And that's my experience of how content partnerships have been evolving as the industry has shifted and viewers have changed their behaviour. It's all about looking at the new categories that add customer value alongside the established categories that have been around for decades.
Are they changing their behaviour? Are they having their behaviour changed for them? And arguably, they're having their behaviour changed for them and then back again. And I was saying, this is really convenient because the consumer say, I thought I had this before.
But I think that's really all about bringing the services that customers want into one simple, content-rich user experience, often with a single payment relationship. That's what added value. So it's around making sure that the TV services that customers are being offered reflect their needs and their viewing performance data.
Because we've had smart TVs mentioned a few times in the previous sessions, and straightforward really, you can have a smart TV, you can become your own super aggregator. But rather like when Sky Sports gave me the opportunity to pick which camera angle I could use for the football, I kind of figured that they could do it better than I could. And the same potentially with the likes of Virgin and YouTube, and being able to bundle things on behalf of the customer.
Absolutely. And I think there are some customers that like to get a big bundle, commit for a long term to quite a large and wide breadth of different types of content. At Virgin Media O2, we've got a service called Stream, which is more focused on, it's an app-first service, and customers can save the more different individual SVOD services they take from us. And then right on the other end of the spectrum, within the O2 brand, we have a fantastic O2 Extras proposition where there isn't a single overarching set-top box experience with that. That's around taking value-added services alongside mobile tariffs. So I'm sure other telcos have got a similar experience of just looking at the type of customer and evolving the proposition to suit those needs.
Might explore that a little bit further later on. YouTube's offer has evolved, and here I guess we're talking more about victims or whatever it is that happens in YouTube in the wild. It's kittens these days. What do people look like? It's like bedded cats. Anybody look anyway?
You should check video kittens and cucumbers.
Oh really?
It's fascinating to see how cats are actually afraid of cucumbers. And if you YouTube cats and cucumbers, you will see it because cats think that cucumbers are actually the wizard, so they just really attacking the cucumbers. Very funny.
So this is how YouTube has become
You should
one of the most popular services
Still
on
trending.
any
20 years in business, still cats driving most of the watch now.
It's great. But you, in addition to the kittens and the cats, you, for example, moved podcasts from Google into the YouTube experience. So is that putting the value in the right place?
Yeah, I think this is a very good illustration. Like you started this panel by noticing that when users they do bundle, but they may subscribe to some product, but they don't really use them. Like you said, the music example. YouTube is a complicated service because we're trying to build. I don't like this word like super app, but like super service where you have multiple use cases in one place. If you think about YouTube, it's obviously cats and videos. It's maybe the number one use case. But now it's also the largest music catalog in the world, so it's a music service provider. It's podcasts these days, and also we're opening the platform for when the user can buy actually a subscription to another paid video platform, like we call it prime time channels. So the product becomes very, very complicated.
And how much is available where? I know a lot of these things I'm aware of being in the United States right now, but also increasingly in the European and the UK market as well.
Yeah, we try to build product at a global scale as much where it's possible. So most of the features are actually being piloted in US, and second market where features are piloted are very often at UK. Product is pretty much global. So I don't think there are a lot of things are not available in the UK which are available in the US. Perhaps one big deviation from this logic is YouTube TV. So it's still a very US-centric product that we have, so subscription product, obviously.
And do we get that at some point in the UK and European market? With a timeline set up for that?
This hasn't been announced or disclosed, but I'm sure it's just a matter of a lot of licensing deals we need to agree here in this part of the world. But very likely that the product family will expand from the US to the other side.
And then I guess you get into the realms of it being available, obviously, on people's tablets and phones to be as portable as YouTube is. But also, you're speaking to people like Jonathan in order to get YouTube onto his platform. But then that starts to get complicated because you're friends, yet you're not, because you might be offering similar services to what Jonathan is offering elsewhere. And people like him, not just necessarily Virgin.
Jonathan, are we friends?
I'm sure we're friends here. We just met, but still friends.
Yeah, I think when it comes to bundling, I really like the slides showing that from the user point of view, the bundles, and obviously in our context, means collaboration between YouTube and the telcos, means the convenience for the users, the transparency. I like to think about the user these days that the user experience being now vertical agnostic. Let me explain what I mean. The best experience the user gets from other verticals, non-telco or non-video. Think about, let's say, finance vertical. I am the user of one of the very popular, let's say, new fintech app. I'm sure you understand the names. And I really admire the transparency of my costs. Like I can literally see where I spend, how often I spend it. So I like this feeling of control. And I think it's naturally for the user to love it. Or another example from the maybe ancient times, when you order a taxi for Uber, now you see when drivers comes and when exactly they approach your house. Again, this level of transparency hasn't been there like 10 or 15 years ago. Same observations or same behaviors are obviously being very well received when you speak about the potential bundling.
age rate and that's right at your fingertips, but also what you haven't used for a while.
I guess also the whole bundling thing. If you're a streaming service, by locking some people in and making it, so we say, to their advantage to hang around rather than unsubscribing and resubscribing again, it's kind of like the old days, but that gives some certainty of revenues actually. And I guess even the larger companies, just as much as some of the smaller streaming services which have emerged, could do with the numbers obviously going up, but not horrifically going down one month and then leading up the next.
And it was really interesting in Giles' presentation to see that that's something content partners are looking for, is that stickiness, that improved lifetime value from telco partnerships. And I think what we can offer as telcos is scale. I mean, Virgin Media O2, I think we've got something like 49 million broadband subscriptions across broadband, mobile and TV in the UK, which is significantly higher than the number of households in the UK. So it's scale, that long-standing customer relationship, but then also tenure. A lot of those customers are on quite long-term contracts, have long-term tenure with the business, and I think that offers something quite unique for content partners.
John, how are the likes of Disney and Netflix, are they changing the way, are you seeing evidence of the way that either they're offering payments to consumers or how they're doing it through third parties like through you and Jonathan here?
Yeah, I think everything Jonathan just mentioned there is exactly why those companies get involved. This enormous scale and reach, and I mentioned the presentation, the need for acquisition. What we're also seeing is an ability to experiment a bit and to learn more about how their business is going to be successful. So with the Verizon Plus Play, you can observe some of the different things that Netflix have been trying. For example, when Plus Play launched, there was a buy one get one free, with Netflix annual being the free thing. So, and that was, a Netflix originated idea. So it's quite interesting. They don't offer an annual package anywhere else. So, and the $10 net max promotion, that's another experiment. So there's a lot of evolution going on there, and everybody's fighting for the longer term customer. And going to some points that were also made, the idea that being bundled with something will add value, will drive up the perceived value of each of the constituent parts of that bundle. So there's a big play down value perception.
It's interesting, I've noticed this doubling up, which is sometimes tripling up depending on the operator now, this idea of bundling different ad tier subscriptions together, and they are ad tier, not at least I haven't spotted any where it's the premium service, so it's simply early days, low hanging fruit.
The ad tier gives an opportunity for some of the high penetration content providers to find those last few percentage points of the market they haven't yet got. So the cheaper basic tier of some products are being replaced with ad tiers. So that's looking for that area of the market they haven't yet conquered. And of course, there's an argument to be concluded as to whether those ad tiers are going to be higher ARPU. And if we think about Netflix going into sport, for example, as streaming media last week, there was quite a strong advocation of the philosophy that if you're going to get into advertising, you need to have live sport. So there's a sort of reciprocation there. If we're going to do ad tiers, then we need live sport to drive viewership.
That's interesting. So one thing driving another. In terms of the switching of subscriptions and the hopping from one tier to another or resting, it's like when you ask us to put the hands up, I think, oh my goodness, how many have we got? And by the time you add up the family ones, the ones I've got, the ones my wife's got, and when you raise the question of which one are you going to cancel, it was like, don't watch TNT Sports, never in when it's that Premier League match on. They have, they have international cricket now, I plead, and don't have to keep it. And then likewise with Netflix, we really should cancel it. Then Bridgerton comes along with a new season. So it's a challenge. So how many people actually do it?
Well, clearly people do it.
Well, yes, but
what we're seeing is with some of these ad tiers, a lower ad tier may encourage you to stay with the service, just not the premium one. We also see within some of the super bundling environments, some of the content providers are bringing the ability to pause and later resume rather than outright cancel. So there's functionality there that's always trying to stop the leaky bucket.
Yes. Jonathan, do you think, has this changed at all since, I don't know, I guess sport's a good example here, people cancelling in the fortnight between the end of the Premier League season and the start of the new season. Yeah. That sort of, does that, that presumably has always been a thing, but is it happening any more than it used to?
I'm not aware that it's happening any more than it used to. I think it is a thing. Some people do cycle in and out of sport at the end of a football season. But I think what's really interesting is the way that modern user experiences can surface content that customers are likely to find engaging. So if you've watched a big drama, it might be that whether it's Netflix or Paramount Plus or one of the other streaming services or even ITVX will probably have something that's going to capture your engagement and attention and excitement. So I think it all comes back down to the richness of that user experience to show off more than just a single series that a customer might have subscribed for, or a single sport.
And do you get sort of different tactics, don't you, as to, I know for example Netflix always used to drop all of one series in one go. Now they sometimes break it into two parts, whereas Disney, not on everything, but on a number of new things, they'll release every week, the old-fashioned way, as it were.
Yeah, my current guilty pleasure on Disney Plus Tracker is released every week. I think, again, it depends on the type of content. I think for procedurals like that, maybe that weekly release actually works a little bit better than a massive binge. We see all different kinds of scheduling approaches on our platform across the different types of providers, from the free-to-air linear broadcasters, fast channels, through to pay TV and streaming services. There's a lot of different strategies in play.
Demographics. I'm figuring that your kind of audience is probably different to Jonathan's, or is it?
Well, then first let's define which product we are talking about.
Okay.
Because I guess
we're looking at paid for in particular, obviously.
Yeah. Because this is my point. YouTube. When you think about YouTube, it's basically the synonym of the video internet, right? Like we, as a platform, we're targeting all users because we want to serve both the young generation and the young professionals, and then goes on and on. For example, relatively recently, we launched YouTube Shorts, which is the vertical short form video, right, targeting especially the Gen Z and the younger generation. But to your question about the paid subscription products, YouTube Premium, again, we don't have a very preference for specific segment for the users, but from our research, we understood that the value of the YouTube Premium, and again, to remind the audience of what the product is actually main feature is that you disable the ads which are like interrupting your video consumption. So if you think about taking away the ads from this video streaming, what social segment will benefit most from it? Obviously, people who are very busy, people who have no time for the ads and they don't want to skip every time. Or families with kids, if you place the tablet in front of your toddler or the kid, you want them to watch the content without interruption, right? So this is perhaps, or organically, the segments that we are trying to prioritize most of our efforts are the young professionals and the families with kids. Yeah, but this is like this.
Okay. How much time do I have? I'm looking for somebody who might be a timekeeper. 2 minutes. Oh dear. Right. Very quickly, Jonathan. Added things which are away from the traditional entertainment. Be it, I don't know, back at Orange Wednesdays almost. What do you add, and how much do you feel they work to bind people in?
I think you've got to look at the rights of play for a particular product or service. So where Virgin Media O2 has done more non-TV subscriptions, like the ones you just mentioned, is within O2, where customers can get the Cafe Antivirus, Caffeine, which is a magazine newspaper app, 3 different products from Amazon, including Prime itself, the music service, and Audible. Those sorts of non-TV propositions work really, really well with O2. Probably less so on the big screen experience as the traditional cable Virgin Media model. So it kind of depends. When there's a right to play, we'll expand into new categories.
Okay, right. I'll wrap up at this point. All these panels we could have done with double, triple the time. Anyway, lunch is coming up, so maybe an opportunity to grab some of the panelists here. Thank you all very much for listening. We will resume again at 12:50. I need to send you in 3 different directions at this point. There's a VIP lunch organised by Byte Plus. Some of you can go there. Assuming you've been asked. Also, Conviva are kindly doing one as well. And for us civilians, there's a regular lunch and some networking as well. So thank you all very much, and we're back in an hour's time.